This video covers postage and shipping for all items on the Online Village Blue Mountains website. So please log in with me to products and go to products, and then this is where I am already. So when you're on any product, you have to enter a little bit of information for the shipping to be able to correctly work. So I'm going to jump over to shipping and I'm going to explain a couple of things. First of all, when you were activated as a seller with Online Village Blue Mountains, we activated you for both pickup and Australia Post shipping. If you do not wish to use either of these, you need to email us and let us know and we'll change that. Some people that work from home may not want people coming to their home and picking up a product, so you may ask us not to have that there. Some people might not mind and are happy to email the customer and arrange a time to have a product picked up. Some customers will like the option to pick up because it's free and would prefer to save their money, especially because it's local. If they live around the corner from you and they can drop in, then they won't want to pay for the postage. So that's a decision you need to make. You don't necessarily have to have your address on the front end of the website. If you offer pickup, that could be something you arrange with a customer via email. So have a good think about whether you want to offer that to customers. Okay, so the vast majority of people are going to keep the Australia Post activation. So how that works with our website, when you enter a weight, so in this case I've entered the weight to be 100 grams, when it gets to the checkout area, the product will add the right amount of shipping and costs for that amount of weight. So if a customer is buying one of these dresses, they live anywhere in Australia because it's under 500 grams, it will charge them $6.95. So that's great. You're not paying for the postage, and so that's covered, and it's covered correctly because it's correct. If someone happens to buy 5 things from you and that changes the weight, for example, if you had some items in there that all weighed 300 grams and then they purchased a few of those items, then it's actually going to calculate the postage based on weight, just as Australia Post would calculate it. So it will no longer cost $6.95. It might, depending on if it's in the local area, but say if you were sending it to Perth, it would accurately calculate the shipping to get the that weight of product all the way over to Perth. So if it's going to cost $18.95, it will come up in the front end based on the weight and the address that your customer enters. So that's a really good thing. It gives you peace of mind to know that your postage costs are always going to be accurate. Now, a note on that, it's actually your responsibility to understand the Australia Post guidelines. So highly recommend that you go and check out the Australia Post guidelines. There's a link to that in the seller product instructions PDF that is here. So if you clicked on here, go down to the postage area, there's an information and there's a link to that site, because that's important for you to know and fully understand how Australia Post works, because that's your responsibility to get this right. Okay, so you must enter a weight. So you can estimate if your product's small if you like, or you can buy some scales and enter it accurately. If your product's small, it's very unlikely to ever be in error, but it's not worth making mistakes on, especially if the product is a little bit on the heavy side. Okay, you can also choose to click free shipping, and if you select that button in the checkout area of the store, the customer won't have to pay for shipping. So it will say that you're going to post that to them for free. Now, some people might have already factored in the cost of shipping with the product that they've created or made. So if your item is already somewhat expensive, it might be a custom artwork, you might be happy to calculate the shipping into that and give it free shipping, and then the customer would just see that as a nice little bonus that they don't have to pay extra for shipping. So that's your choice. I just point out that if you do give free shipping, make mention of that in the promo text area that we discussed on where you add and upload products, because if you're giving shipping for free, that's something you really want to point out to your customers, because that's a benefit that you're giving them. Okay, I don't want to give free shipping for this dress, so I'm going to delete that section. Okay, a note on package and handling. This is nothing to do with the actual amount of money that Australia Post will charge you to send an item. This is to cover any extra costs that you have for packaging the item. Most people will leave that at zero. But if you have to spend an awful lot of money, or enough that you want to charge customers for it, you might use bubble wrap and all sorts of things, and you find that that's actually a cost that you don't want to carry, you can pass that on to your customer. It won't show up as a package and handling cost, it'll just get added to the postage and shipping costs. So if the item was going to cost $6.95 to post with Australia Post, but if you added say $10 to packaging and handling here, then in the checkout area of the store it would say shipping is $16.95. You have to be aware that that might overwhelm some customers, and they may well choose, I'm not going to pay that much for shipping, I'm not going to purchase that product. So that's something you really need to think about. Do you want to pass that cost on to a customer? Okay, so that's the basics of how the shipping area works, and now we're going to get into the more complex area of if you should or you shouldn't fill in this area down here. Now, and I want you to read these instructions. If you're watching the video now, please press pause and read this, because then you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay, so hopefully you've read the instructions, and basically it's saying to you, you don't need to fill in this area at all. And this area up here is the main area that you need to fill in. But there are times where you may need to fill in these items in a box and then box length, width and height. Now that would be if your product is a product that is particularly light for the amount of space that it takes up. For example, like a bean bag, it's actually quite light, but it takes up a lot of area. So if you popped in this really low weight, and our website was calculating the weight, the shipping cost based on weight, but you take up your box of your bean bag to the post office, it's actually going to cost you a lot more than the basic price, because the box is so big. So you need to actually enter how big that box is going to be. That's someone that may need to do that if your product's like that. Or if you have a particular product that is fragile, and if they buy multiple items, you don't actually want to put that product in a box with something else. Like, you're going to insist that this product be packaged all by itself. So you might put here items in a box between 1 and 1, or you might say 1 to 6, however many you're willing to have in that box. Now, I have to point out to you here that just say you put 1 to 6 and you're selling, coffee, for example, and you also sell coffee cups. If you have items in a box 1 to 6 under coffee, and you've chosen to come down to this area down here and enter that, what the front end's going to do is actually if someone buys coffee and they buy a coffee mug, it's actually going to charge them the delivery for each product separately. If you were to leave this area blank and leave this as 0 for both, then it would do it based on weight, and it would assume that you're putting the coffee and the mug in the one box and sending it as one parcel. But if you come down under here and enter dimensions or items in a box, it's going to charge you, it's not charging you, it's going to charge your customer as if the box of coffee was going in one box and the mug is going in a separate box. That will automatically happen if you enter anything down here. So that's something you need to think about as well. There are times when you do need to do it, but I wouldn't do that by and large if you're selling small items or dresses or things that aren't particularly large. So that's something you need to consider. If your item's not particularly large and it's a bit borderline, but you're allowing them to buy multiples. So if your item fits nicely in a size that can be sent with Australia Post, but that you allow them to purchase maybe 4 or 5 or 6 of that item, and then if they buy 6, it's suddenly going to go oversize, but the weight's still going to be undersized, then you may need to consider, do you need to fill this in? But whenever you enter anything down here, you have to remember that if they buy multiple items from your store, then the postage will calculate it as if you're sending everything in a separate box. So that means instead of it being one box for $6.95, if they buy 3 things and you can squish it into one box and it's going to cost $6.95, if they buy 3 things from you and you've filled in this area for those products, they actually get charged 3 lots of $6.95. So they actually might go, oh my goodness, that's an awful lot of shipping just for those 3 items. So I hope I've explained that well. It's actually a tricky thing to get across in a video. More than happy to discuss this with you by phone or email if you need more explanation, or if you're just not sure, if you want to just check with us, hey, I don't know if this is going to be me or not. So email us if you have any questions and we'll make contact with you and discuss it based on your needs. But let me just assure you that if your product is quite small, or if it's like clothing or anything similar to that, you are very unlikely to ever need to fill in this area here. So just leave blank. Okay, so I hope that's helped you understand the basics of the shipping that we have set up with Online Village Blue Mountains. And if you need to set up custom shipping because you choose to use a courier instead of Australia Post, or you would like to give your customers the choice of whether you send something with Australia Post or a courier, or whatever your custom shipping might be. It might be you personally drive it and deliver and you want to charge a set price for that. If you are someone that fits into that category, then please go and watch our video on setting up custom shipping. There's only one more thing I want to tell you, is if you have some items that can be posted and some items that are just far too big to post. You know, you might sell cute gifts as well as furniture. And there might not be cute gifts of any kind, and products that are small enough to post, but then you also sell larger products that Australia Post could never send. And well, you don't want your customer to get in the front end and select Australia Post for the table they've just bought, because there's no way Australia Post are going to deliver that for you. If you ever have one-off items that can't be sent via Australia Post, but you still want to be able to use Australia Post for other items and you don't want to deactivate it, then what we want you to do here is type in a rather large number, 22,000 grams, which is 22 kilos. Or you might even probably say for the right 25. Because Australia Post have a limit that says they will not deliver anything that weighs more than 22 kilos. So by entering a larger number than 22 kilos in this area, remembering that we entered in grams, so by entering this larger number, when a customer is purchasing in the front end of the website, in the front end of the store, it'll automatically shut off the Australia Post option, and it will show that they must pick it up or that they must have it couriered, or however, what other options you have set up. But just say you're selling a table and you only ever want it picked up and you don't want them to get confused at the shopping checkout area, then you can enter for that one product an amount that's over 22 kilograms. Okay, so I hope that helps you understand how the shipping and postage works with Online Village Blue Mountains. If you have any questions at all, feel free to send us an email or check out the seller product instructions. All right, thank you.